Was Enoch Powell right about immigration? I mentioned Lawrence Southern's views on immigration, but what about Enoch Powell's views? Because he was a very controversial conservative politician in the United Kingdom, most famous for his Rivers of Speech Blood about regulated migration or mass immigration into the United Kingdom. So who was Enoch Powell and what is he most famous for? If you don't know who Enoch Powell is, he was a Conservative MP during the 1960s and late 90s, and he would pretty much be very famous for known for his Birmingham speech, which was about the, or as people would call it, the Rivers of Blood speech, about unregulated migration and blood being flown all the way into Britain because of how much dangerous these people would be if it would be very unregulated, and also his criticisms towards mass immigration. He would pretty much start his early life in, he would be like a primary school teacher. He also criticised the SAS against killings against people from IRA, Irish Republic Army, and other parts of the UK military that would commit a few war crimes. And he was very admired by a lot of people for his criticisms from immigration. Keep in mind this was in the 1960s, and Enoch Powell was only really just trying to get into power as well. I think as well at one point he wanted to become Prime Minister. And if you look at what immigration is now, I think that it's become really bad. At least around 37% of London is white British, and there are other parts of the UK that are also flooded with immigration. For example, there is Luton, Birmingham, Liverpool. Those are kind of the main parts as well where there will be mass immigration, and it's been really difficult to actually manage and regulate this so it isn't completely out of control. And there are a lot of NGO groups that would also fund a lot of the places that would actually allow immigration to come into the United Kingdom. For example, there are people that I think I remember this one guy actually even did a documentary about the NGO groups that are, if you don't know what NGO groups are, the non-government organisations, and pretty much what would happen would be they would fund people, they would give them food and supplies and phone charges and all this stuff that would be pretty much given luxury, and especially to do with immigration, with them getting pretty much free hotels and also free food. And I remember this documentary by Steve Law, and it was very interesting about how these NGO groups work. First it would be like they would get boats from France and then go to the United Kingdom, and then there would be also this train track that would also be where migrants would walk through, and then they would probably go to the boats as well. I'm not sure, I can't remember the documentary too well, but that's what Steve Law covered, and I think it was a very good and very shocking highlight of these immigration camps and these refugee camps about them just not being very regulated and being funded by NGO groups. And I think when it comes down to the future, and especially for Britain, it seems very dire. Some people have said that white people will be a minority in their own countries, in Western countries, and I'll probably make a different video on that, but I just wanted to highlight the whole Enoch Powell stuff and about him right about being the Rivers of Blood. And I'm not really sure if anything's gonna really change, but hopefully in the future that people actually start waking up and they actually look at this and thinking, okay, we need to start really doing stuff about this, and not just with the NGO groups but also the British people as well. I think when it comes down to comparing someone like with Oswald Mosley and to do with being able to, and if you don't know who he was a fascist politician, you're probably wondering why I'm bringing him up. Well, the reason I'm bringing up Oswald Mosley is because I think Enoch Powell was more successful than him, even though he was sort of during the 1920s, at least geographically or geopolitically, would be very intense, and he was trying to get into power. And I think that Enoch Powell was a bit on point on his views on immigration, but at the same time Oswald Mosley would be a lot more failing, because I was doing research on them too, and they're quite similar, but not to do with like fascism or politically, but more to do with how they viewed the country and how they viewed the not just the immigration, but also being able to just be pro your own country. And he would also do multiple speeches around the UK as well. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video about Enoch Powell, and sorry I've been a little bit incoherent about Enoch Powell. I've only just really, he has a massive history, so I might make a part 2 to this video. But yeah, Enoch Powell is a very interesting politician at the time, especially during the 1960s. And as well, if you want to click on these videos here where I've talked about other parts of politics and also some other aspects of, I talk about those a little bit more in detail. And before you click on this video, I have a link in the description below with either my link tree or my second channel where you can find my link tree. I have my other channels and my Discord there as well.